We're in Lamed Tes?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were in the end.
No, we did Lamed, we did, yeah, Lamed Tes Amud Beis. I didn't, a few lines before the Mishnah is where I'm going to
Right.
start. I left off in shul with those guys.
Right.
And what we're going to do today, God willing, is we're going to finish the parak and start the new Masechta tonight. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. So we're on Lamed Tes Amud Beis. So we're dealing, what's the status of a bore that for the Ole Regel from Bavel? Why would it be mutter? The two guys who were mutter ano against each other, it said mutar b'shel Ole Bavel. It wouldn't be mutter because v'hatnan hashutafim partners shenadru ano zemizah certainly kanis lechatzer lechatz babor. Imply that they can't use it. So it wouldn't be mutter. So the Gemara says, Lir chotza chanami. In a chanami, they would not be able to bathe in it. Because there you use all of the water. But hach b'mayaskinon lamalois. Each person would be allowed to fill their own bucket. And we say, since they're all partners, the water that each guy filled in his own bucket, it was his own. Right? Mar dididei komamale, umar mididei komamale. However, you have to invoke breira. That means you have to say, oh, retroactively, the water that ended up in Chaim Yankel's pail is retroactively was his in the first place. But that uses concept of breira. The son of Rav Nachman, yesh breira, but Rav Nachman doesn't hold the breira, but not. Achin hashutafim. When brothers are partners, it depends on when they inherit their father's estate, are they viewed as partners or are they viewed as not partners? So those brothers that are partners, kishchayavin bekalboin. So when the father paid the machzis shekel on behalf of everybody from one estate, so you would not have to pay a kalboin. But if the brothers are partners and it's not considered one estate, they would be chayiv to pay the kalboin. But partners are potter mimaiser behema. If they were not partners for one estate, they would have to give, because there's a special din that only a single owner of cows are chayiv mimaiser behema. They would be pturim if they were shutafim. However, if they're not shutafim, if they're viewed as one estate, where they would be chayav and b'maiser behema, pturim and not kalbon, they would not have to pay the kalbon. Ravanan lo yishanu. This din is only learned is shechal kugdaim keneged tloim. They had goats and sheep in the estate, and they just divided the estate in half. They didn't say you take 10 goats and you take 10 goats. No. I'll take 10 goats, but I'll take a certain amount of sheep in response to that. But let's say they divided everything equally. We say each one, as if in retrospect, got the one that belonged to them. However, Rav Nachman, that uses the concept of breira. And Rav Nachman Amar afilu chalku g'doim k'neged g'doim etloim k'neged etloim ein omer ze chalko magim mishav rishon l'kach, because he doesn't hold of breira. So how can you tell me over there that the people who were muder against it made muder hano against each other? We say they were mutarim because we say that the water that they picked up in their individual pail is hurver hadavar lamafreya. We retroactively designate that it was theirs from the first place. We can't say that because Rav Nachman doesn't hold the breira. Rather, we change the concept and we say that the public bore of the Orle Bavel were not shutafim. Kula alma beri de hefkerihi. It was considered hefker, and therefore each person that drawed water from the bore, it now follows him because he acquired it from hefker. And what's the machlokes? I don't pick up the water for myself, I pick it for my friend. Does that work if I pick up from Hefker? Mar Savar Kana or Mar Savar Loy Kana. And that would be the reason why there would be a machlokes. Mishnah. Mishayu Perois of Biracheres. Person has fruit in a different town, which is beyond his tchum. But Ervu Bnei Oisa Ir Lahavi Etzlom and Peroisav. The people of the city that he lived in made an eruv, and they can go to that city to bring his payros. Lo yaviulo, they're not allowed to bring it. He did not participate in the eruv, so they can't bring it for him. But v'im eruv, if he participated, payros of kamo could be brought to him. Misha zimein etzlo orchi. Let's say he invited guests from another city, and then they go back to the city that they came from. Lo yolichu biyadai monos. He can't give them gifts because the gifts that he gives them, it's like karagle balabais, and they can't take it back with them. If they gave them if the balabais sort of pre-gifts them from erev yontif, and therefore it's in their possession from erev yontif, then they can take it back to their city. Itmar. Hamavkid Paris Eitzel Chavero. I deposit with Harold payros for him to watch. We don't know, not to watch. I leave it there. I'm going to China, and I put him in his rishus. He knows about it. But it's not that I appointed him a shomer. I was mafkid my payros with him. Rav Amar Karagli Mishi Kpidulo. So the where you can take these items is since I deposited it, it's based on me. No, it's according to Rav, it's the guy I left it with. Shmuel Omar Karagli Amafkid. I who was mafkid the payros with Harold, the payros can only go where I go. Lema Rav Shmuel does it tamay. Based on this, maybe we say Rav and Shmuel are consistent. It's not. I put my fruit or my ox into Harold's backyard with his rishus. So then what happens if the item gets damaged? So balachot chayev. The Tanakama holds, since Harold accepted responsibility because he permitted me to put it in there, he has on him the responsibility of any damages that occurred there. Rabbi Omer, no. It's not enough to be mafkid by him. He has to verbally enunciate that I'm going to be a shomer. And v'amru v'amarav, halacha k'divrei chachamim. Rav says halacha is like the Tanakama. That if somebody accepts putting something in my chotzer, I automatically accept being a shomer. Shmuel Amar like Rabbi. Nope, it's not automatic. He's got to enunciate. So perhaps this concept of hamafkid peret etzel chaver, where is the tchum of that, follows the same machlokes. Lema Rav Dama Karabban and Shmuel Dama Karebi. Amla Charav Anada Amri Afila Rebbe. No. Me, Rav, who holds hamafkid peret etzel chaver, it's karag lemishiv kidulo. I can hold like Rebbe regarding the shomer business. Ad kama Rabbi Asam. The bistamalo kibel alayna tirusa. When I deposit something in my friend's chotzer, it's not clear that he accepted shmira. Aval hacha, but where I deposit something payros, when I give it to the guy, I'm making him a shomer. So there clearly he's a shomer. Ushmuel Omer no. Another benefil Rabbana. Ad kam like Rabbana Hasam. Ela denicha leile inish denekim tur b'shusi the balchotzer. Person's happy that his ox will be in the reshus of a balachotzer, because if his shore gets damaged, the one who accepted it is not going to be responsible because he's not necessarily accepting shmir on it. Aval hacha minichale leinish to lay compare b'reshus to chavre. Am I always going to be happy that my parents will be in the reshus of my friends? So the Gemara doesn't prove that Rav and Shmuel's machlokes by one case holds by the other. It's not. We learn our Mishnah v'im iriv hu. The guy lives in a city that is, if he makes an eruv, peiros of kamo, then he can bring his peiros to him. But if you're telling me, like Rav said, it now becomes in the possession of the guy I was mafkid to, ki eruv umayavi. So what would be the difference if the guy made an eruv? Makes a difference because he didn't just deposit the peiros anywhere in the chotzer. He designated a certain corner for the peiros. So there's a gilui das that the peiros are not in the reshus of the person that in herald. It remains in my possession. That's why I put it there because I think it's safer there, but it's still in my possession. Toshma. Our Mishnah said if you invite guests, you shouldn't give them gifts. Unless you gave them the gifts of Erev Yontif. But if you tell me, once I give something to herald, it's the item, it goes wherever herald goes. So then then again, what's my difference if I give these gifts to the people Erev Yontif? So the Gemara says it is a difference. You did it through a third party. It's as if I put it in a certain corner. I gave it to them. Or zika shiny. Being zoicha for another person is different. You can't bring me a raya from there. Because there, the feirish, I was zika, the whole reshus of the feirish to the orchim. Rav Chana bar Chani loy tola bisra ba'avda dedosha. Rav Chana hung a piece of meat on sort of his door. He was staying at a certain guest house that in a different city. So could he take that back with him when he back to his own city? Also, yat tolis. If you were the one who hung it there, zil shaki. The inu tolach, but if your owner hung it there for you, lo tishko. The ihu tolami shakil. Now, if he himself had hung it, can he take it? It goes against the way Rav learned. So shiny avra dedasha, hanging it there is the kamishi yichelo keren zavis. It was as if it was given to him. That's why he'd be able to take it. Ravashi, the inutala loy shakil. If the owner, if the achsanya had hung it there, why wouldn't he be able to take it? V'amar Shmuel, shor shel petam arek ragli kolodim. If you give your ox to a fattener to make him fat, we said anybody, whoever purchases it can take it. So it should be the same here. Also asked, and if the achsanya had hung it for him, why shouldn't he be able to take it home? Where we said if there was one shepherd, the behem is also karagli aroya. So if the meat was designated for him in a special place, he should be able to take it with him. I'll ask you a third kasha. If he hung it for himself, if they hung it for him, why shouldn't he take it? Vatnan. And they gave it to him. So the Gemara says, you know what? This has nothing to do with Tchum. He was busy learning sugyas. If you hung it, remember, There is a concept of basar shenis alim in ayin. Meat that if somebody takes their eye off of it, it's not kosher anymore. Because maybe a bird flew off with it, and this is an unkosher piece of meat that dropped here. So if you hung it, if you have a simon in the meat, you have a plumba, and you never took your mind off the meat, then you can take it. But but if they hung it for you and you took your mind off of it, it's not kosher, you won't be able to take it. So they turn the sugya on its head. Mishnah. In mashkin v'shoichtin and samit barios. You have animals that don't dwell in the city. They hang out in the meadows outside of the city. So they're muktzah for you. Therefore, you can't give them to drink and shecht them. The reason they gave them to drink before they shechted them is so that they could strip the hide easier because it was well hydrated. But the animals that are in town, their mind is on it. It's not muktzah. They can shecht it. Now, how do we define baisois versus midbarios? Elu and baisois. Those that halones be'ir, those that sleep in the city at night. Midbarios is halones for those that sleep outside. First, the Gemara wants to mashkin v'shechtin. What is this? You can give them to drink and shecht them. So Mil Sagavurcha Kamashma is teaching me a bonus halacha. The lashke inish b'em you should give to your animal to drink first, and then shecht. Mishum sircha the mashcha, it's easier to strip the hide. Torabbanon Eloin midbarios ve'eloin baisios. Midbarios kol sheyotzes bePesach. They leave town Pesach time. The royals before they stay and graze outside. V'nichnosos previous arishonim. They come in when the rain starts. The Eloin baisos. Kol sheyotzes v'rois chutz l'tchum. They don't go all way out in the meadow. They go chutz l'tchum. But ubos v'lons b'soch atchum. They come and sleep at night within the tchum of the city. Rabbi says in those both of those are elu ve'elu baisos. What's a midbarios? Elu ein midbarios. Kol sheyotzes v'rois b'afar. They go out to the meadow. Ve'ein nichnasim liyushav lo b'masacham lo b'makor. They stay out there. They never come into town. Now, by Rebbe giving us a geder for what's a midbarios, he seems to be agreeing with the Mishnah that there is a concept of a muktzah animal. But Freiti Gemara, Miyaslei the Rebbe muktzah. Rebbe doesn't hold of muktzah. V'aboy minei Rab Shimon b'Rebbe meRebbe. Patzilei t'mor l'Rab Shimon ma'u. These are some kind of pomegranates that they leave in baskets to ripen, so that you could eat them. Or melom ein muktzah l'Rab Shimon. Ela groigos v'tzimokin bilvad. If you take grapes that were once ready to be eaten as grapes, and then you put them on the roof to dry, so now you've put them out of mind. They're muktzah. But the other ones are not muktzah. So how can you tell me Rebbe holds of midbarios? He doesn't hold of muktzah. So iboy semani nami ke grois v'tzimokin dami. Perhaps these are also considered these pomegranates because they can't be eaten until they're ripe. He also takes his mind off of it. So they're like raisins. The boy sema, some say no. The dvar of the Reb Shimon Ka'amar. He doesn't hold of that, but he's speaking to Reb Shimon. V'leilo svirle. The boy sema the Reb Rabbana Ka'amar lahu. Lidi di ein muktzah. According to me, there's no muktzah, but el did chu orderly mias. At least admit to me, Heicha the Yoitzes verse with Pesach doesn't reveal Rishon the Bais is saying. And we'll save the last line for the Siyum.
That is the law. That's the last time.
Farmerley Rabban and Lomid Bar is saying. Okay. But we will include this Masechta when we make our Siyum on all the other Masechtas we haven't made yet Siyum on. will include Masechta Beitzah.